All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Public Infrastructure and Environment and Sustainability Committee for February 22nd. We are not going to address staff request number 9 at Kyle's request. We'll do it another time. I have heard nothing from anyone on the 13 consent items. So unless anyone has a request for those, I'd like to release any staff people for those. All right, then I would be looking for a motion to approve the January 25th, 2021 minutes.
So moved. Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, nay? Any abstentions? All right, minutes are approved. And first up is land lease request for proposal consideration for a solar installation at Northside Landfill. And Chris, I think I see you there.
All right. And Chris, let me kick it off really quick.
Okay.
We've got 3 items I want to really quickly touch on. I'm going to turn it over to the team for the presentation. Chris is going to, first of all, present an opportunity to look at repurposing city-owned property that could potentially generate some future value and revenue, and that's on one of the city's closed landfill sites. The next items are around creating awareness with the City Council on how our regional solid waste system works today and how the waste energy plant plays a central role in that. There's a number of bills in the legislature that are being circulated and considered right now, some of which could have an impact on the community in terms of cost to operate the regional system. So the overview is going to provide council with the insights into the key elements of the system, how this system provides what we believe is a more environmentally beneficial outcome for our community, and then also incorporates strategies to develop a longer term financially sustainability within the system as well. So with that, I will kick it over to Chris.
All right, thank you. Hang on just a second. All right, good afternoon. As Scott mentioned, today I'd like to provide a brief update on the solar development at the Northside Landfill. For those that are unfamiliar with the site, the Northside Landfill is located between 9 Mile Road and Indian Trail Road and consists of 345 acres. Of this, 135 acres are capped with 25 acres in use for current and future disposal. We recently participated in a reuse assessment in conjunction with the EPA to determine potential uses for the land. They evaluated a wide variety of potential uses for recreational and industrial, but due to the operational impacts, the safety concerns, and security concerns with operating a gas collection system on the landfill site, they determined that the solar development would be the best use based on solar resource, topography, and proximity to electrical interconnection. They identified 24 to 27 acres of the site that could be used, and based off estimated 24 acres, this could produce up to 4 megawatts of solar generation, enough to power 432 homes. This provides a map of the proposed locations. The 2 suitable plots are shaded in orange, and there's another 3-acre site shaded in yellow that further studies evaluating the impact on glare from the solar cells on traffic on 9 Mile Road need to be evaluated before it can be determined whether it's a suitable site or not. And then, as mentioned, across 9 Mile Road is the Vista substation that would provide the electrical interconnection. So for next steps, request for proposal would be developed for a solar land lease option in which a solar developer would install and operate the facility in exchange for a lease payment or share of the environmental attributes. Based on similar projects, annual lease payment could be expected in the range of $250 to $8,000 an acre. Similar projects have yielded an average of $2,100 per acre. The project is still dependent upon permit approval and neighborhood input after a developer is selected. And by proceeding with this, it provides beneficial reuse of the land, revenue, power production, and also aligns with our energy strategic initiative. So at this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Councilmember Mumm.
This is very exciting to look at the reuse of this property. By the way, if that study can be sent to council, or maybe it already has, I haven't seen it come through. I would love to see it.
Yeah,
I
I'll
know
send it to you.
that would be great. I know the neighborhood is very invested in the future of this property. And I don't know if you've had an opportunity to work with them at all in what they might be interested in the future development of this.
We have not at this point, just because it's difficult because of where we're at in the closure process for the landfill. It kind of limits the available use for it. But, you know, ideally in the future, when we're at the point where we can remove some of the gas collection wells and, you know, explore more recreational uses, then, you know, that would definitely be a benefit to reach out to the community to see what those, you know, uses look like.
Yeah, and I might even suggest, if you have the results of this study, did the city pay for the study?
No, it was funded by a grant with the EPA, and so we did it in conjunction with them.
Yeah, so since tax dollars were used, I might suggest maybe going to the next neighborhood council meeting and presenting to both the North Indian Trail and South Indian Trail neighborhood. I hear a lot about this property from my neighbors out there, and they have lots of ideas as well. Two things that I have heard from them is they're really seeking some kind of recreational use of the property because there's so few park acreage lots or areas available in that area. And there's more than 8,000 people who live out there with very little park or some trails, but not very much. And the other thing that was contemplated, and I don't know if your study looked into this, maybe you can answer this pretty quickly, was there any thought about the need for vehicle connectivity between Indian Trail Road and 9 Mile?
I don't think that any connectivity was examined during this. It was preliminary study of, you know, recreational or more industrial type. One of the challenges that we have, if I can go back to the map, I don't know if it's...
There's some topography problems here. But for those of you who are familiar with this area, there are wildfires and canyon fires that go up the slope here. And we've had a couple instances where we had a difficulty evacuating. And before we tie this up with a solar farm, which I think would be a great use, I really hope the city can look with our engineers at the possibility of at least creating some sort of emergency access through here, or perhaps even some kind of safe connectivity to open up all the pressure that happens on Indian Trail Road. It is one way in and one way out, really. So I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, not my district, but I would definitely agree. I think an access point between Indian Trail and 9 Mile would be wonderful to consider. But my question is there an opportunity here to maybe try to incentivize investment in this solar array from folks that are in states with like cap and trade type policies in place? Could they get credits for coming here and investing, I'm wondering?
That's a good question, and one we can incorporate into the RFP process to explore that further.
Okay. I don't see any more questions on that. Thanks, Chris. We really look forward to hearing more about that. Aligns with a lot of things we're up to, both in this committee and the city. And then I guess we're just going to roll through these next two things. So I'm not sure who's taking the lead on item 2.
Well, Chris is going to start, but I'm going to share my screen here. So, okay.
All right. Well, thank you for your time again. As Scott mentioned, we wanted to share with the council a brief overview of the operations of the waste energy facility and its role in managing waste in the Spokane area. The waste energy facility serves as the heart of the Spokane Regional Solid Waste System. Waste from curbside services, Self Haul, the Smart Center, and from the 2 county-owned transfer stations are directed to the waste energy facility. Curbside services include the City of Spokane, Cheney, Empire Disposal, Sunshine, and Waste Management. City collections and self-haul accounts for 47.5% of the volume delivered to the waste energy, with the remaining comprised of originations within the county. During delivery, waste is sorted for recycling, combustion, or disposal. For the waste that is not suitable for combustion, it is routed to either the Roosevelt landfill or the open cell of the Northside landfill, and the post-combustion ash is shipped to the Roosevelt landfill via rail. The waste energy facility started operation in 1991 to replace landfills in the area that were designated Superfund cleanup sites due to groundwater contamination. The facility processes 250,000 tons of municipal solid waste annually and provides enough power for 13,000 homes while meeting federal permit standards for air emissions. It's a key component in a comprehensive solid waste system that encourages recycling and composting to meet state objectives to reuse and recycle waste. The ash byproduct is 90% less in volume and 70% less in weight compared to solid waste. The ash, being a dry powder, does not contribute to greenhouse gas emissions or groundwater contamination. You're on mute, Marlene.
You have to unmute? Darn. Sorry about that. It'll be the quote of the year, right? You're on mute. So waste energy really is an incredible community asset. You remember Chris told you that solar project was going to power 432 homes, and he just told you that waste energy does enough for 13,000 homes. So the scale is quite a bit larger. So in 1990, when it was built, the cost was about $110 million. And, we had a lot of support, including a $60 million investment from the state of Washington. So let me give you a little history on that. So back in the 80s, lots of landfills had to be closed because of cleanup problems, groundwater contamination. So the state actually approved 2 large bond measures in the 80s. And Referendum 39 is the one we care about. Voters approved that in 1980. And $450 million in state bonds were sold by the state as a result of that referendum vote. Interestingly, the language approved by voters said that $150 million of that should be spent for disposal options that were capable of producing renewable energy. And that's how really we got that money for waste to energy. To build a new facility today would be really expensive. It would be a $300+ million investment. So we are fortunate to have what we have today. And as long as we keep maintaining it, we can use this facility for many years to come. So waste to energy was initially operated by a company called Wheelabrator. In fact, we did a design, build, operate contract with Wheelabrator. So we have a large, I actually looked at that contract not that long ago. It was like a 300-page contract specifying how we wanted waste to energy to be built for us, and they operated it until 2014. At that point, our contract with them expired, and we decided as a city to take over operations. So now all of the employees at Waste to Energy are city employees, and we have about 75 family wage jobs there. The steam that's generated is used for plant operations, and then the excess power is sold to Avista to power those homes. We have been looking at what the economic impact is of waste to energy nationally, and there was a study done by the Energy Recovery Council that found that for every dollar in revenue at a waste to energy facility, you inject about $1.77 into the economy. And that includes, your wages and benefits that you're paying to your employees, and includes things like contracts that are listed on the right-hand side for personal services, purchases, capital upgrades. And one we wanted to throw in there, Waste to Energy actually provided over 7,000 hours in apprentice labor last year. So as Chris mentioned, the Waste to Energy is part of the regional system, the Spokane County Solid Waste System, and it serves as the center of our regional strategy and helps facilitate collaboration on things like recycling. So last month, I think we gave you an update on our cart tagging study, which we did jointly with the other haulers in our county and with the Spokane County system. And the other thing that we like to talk about with Waste to Energy that I think council would be very interested in is this notion of environmental justice. In the late 80s, our community made a choice to manage its own waste in our own community and not leave it to someone else's community to take care of. That is a choice that I think we'd be proud of still today. For example, if we made a choice not to use waste to energy, it would be very unlikely that we could site a landfill over our sole source aquifer. That would mean that we might have to ship our waste to like that Roosevelt landfill that Chris was talking about. Well, Roosevelt landfill is located in Klickitat County. And if you go to the state's environmental health disparities map, you'll find that Klickitat County is already listed as high in terms of social vulnerability to hazards for its citizens. So we would be contributing to the challenges already being felt in Klickitat County.
As part of any combustion process, CO2 or carbon dioxide is released as a byproduct. The facility emits 234,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide annually. This includes 138,100 metric tons of biogenic CO2, which is from organic material and would be emitted as part of the naturally occurring decomposition process, regardless of disposal mechanism. Since biogenic CO2 is emitted regardless of the end use, it is not required as part of the greenhouse gas reporting process for the EPA or other states, but is included as part of the waste energy emissions in Washington state. In addition, landfills do not report the biogenic portion of the CO2 in the state of Washington. So making everything equal, the facility would emit total emissions of 99,900 metric tons of carbon dioxide annually if the non-biogenic or if the biogenic portion was removed. In addition, it's also worth noting that the flue gas at the waste energy is subjected to an air pollution control system that includes treatment for heavy metals, dioxins, furans, particulate, acid gases, and nitrous oxide before being emitted, compared to a landfill that may only utilize a simple flare system or that may simply vent to atmosphere. The waste energy facility continues to meet high air quality standards, not only for our facility permits, but also federal standards for new facilities. There have been a multitude of voluntary projects to improve emission controls over the 30 years in operation. Besides air pollution controls, the facility also reclaims and reuses all of the water that's generated during operations, resulting in zero discharge of industrial wastewater. Mute button again.
Happens when you're sharing your screen, right? So this is our list of carbon emitters in the state of Washington. Top of that list is the TransAlta coal-fired plant in Centralia that will be phased out in the next few years, but you can see it emits 8 million metric tons of CO2e. And you can see that, so those top producers are significantly higher than the waste energy facility. You can also see where the biogenic comes to play. So in the two pulp and paper facilities, number 4 and number 5, the Nippon Dynaware and the West Rock LLC, when you remove their biogenic portion of their CO2e, they have considerably lower emissions. We threw in Kettle Falls biomass just so you can take a look. Biomass is also a wood burning facility, so its fuel is biogenic. So after you remove their biogenic, they're at about 25,000 metric tons of CO2e. Waste to energy is number 27 in terms of carbon emitters, total carbon emitters in the state. After you remove that biogenic, we're at that 99,000 metric tons that Chris mentioned, and you can compare that to the full number reported by Cowlitz or Roosevelt landfills, because they are not required to report the biogenic portion at all. So their numbers are equivalent to our net after biogenic removed. So let's look at carbon emissions compared to landfills. The EPA says that for each ton of municipal solid waste that goes to waste to energy instead of a landfill, we avoid between 1.6 and 4.1 tons of greenhouse gas emissions. So at that rate, waste to energy is avoiding 400,000 to 1 million tons of CO2e annually compared to landfilling. And it means over the 30 years that we've operated the facility, we've avoided between 12 and 30 million metric tons of CO2e. We think that is a superior environmental choice for our community. So other ways to compare waste to energy to landfilling: waste to energy produces carbon dioxide, not methane, which is produced at landfills, and methane has 25 times the heat trapping potential of CO2. So carbon dioxide is less damaging on the environment. We also avoid other greenhouse gas emissions by generating electricity for sale and steam to run the plant. And then we also recover those ferrous and non-ferrous metals. So we avoid the energy consumption required to create new metals from virgin ores. Waste to energy actually produces 10 times the energy from a landfill methane recovery and reuse system. And interestingly, EPA tells us that only 4 landfills have such sophisticated landfill methane recovery and reuse facilities. The rest do not have active landfill gas recapture projects.
So the waste energy is a preferred option as part of the EPA's waste management hierarchy, which you can see in the triangle on the slide. The facility promotes recycling and composting, energy recovery, and as a final step, treatment and disposal. This graph illustrates a comparison of the recycling rates for communities which utilize waste to energy versus a statewide recycling rate. As you can see, for the majority of communities, higher recycle rates are achieved when waste to energy is a component of the solid waste management system. It's also worth noting that for Washington, the Spokane area has one of the highest recycling rates in the nation. So waste energy is a waste management strategy that's been adopted by countries or regions throughout the world with dense populations and limited land. Denmark is a success story of adopting a recycling and circular economy approach with waste energy at its center. High recycle rates are targeted with the remaining material sent to the waste energy for disposal. Infrastructure and businesses are then built around the waste energy to take advantage of the heat or steam generated, power generation, and industrial symbiosis with any materials in the recycling process. To further incentivize waste to energy, Copenhagen has adopted a 62.56 euro per ton tax for landfill disposal versus a 6.69 euro per ton tax for waste to energy disposal. The waste energy facility continues to support the growth of responsible management of waste. Some examples of this include disposal for corporations with zero landfill initiatives as part of their corporate sustainability programs. In addition, we also provide secure destruction for a wide variety of materials, such as medication, illegal drugs, waste from Antarctica and other USDA regulated waste, and other special wastes that are generated within the community. The Solid Waste Disposal Department also continues to work with our Sustainability Department to explore recycling partnerships to further promote waste diversion prior to incineration.
Ownership of the waste to energy plant provides the city with a unique opportunity to lead in building the circular economy. You'll see on the bottom of this flow chart that energy recovery and landfill are last resorts. We'll minimize their use as we seek to redirect portions of the waste stream. Just like accommodating growth through stewardship is a key strategy to strengthen our water utility, recycling and reuse through the circular economy permits future operational and financial growth without facility expansion. Note that we're already working in both biological and technical sides of this circular economy cycle. On the left, biological side, we're composting the green waste with Bartec, our private partner, and exploring biogas options. On the right side, we're recovering metals and recycling with another private partner, Waste Management, along with many other opportunities that will be developed through our new recycling strategic initiative. This diagram illustrates the limitations of our participation in sustainable materials management while emphasizing the absolute necessity of partnerships. Notice that our role is primarily on the blue arrow, end-of-life management. But through our collaboration with the Spokane River Regional Toxics Task Force, we are able to support work in green chemistry and clean manufacturing of sustainable dyes and pigments, reducing the chances of toxins like PCBs from ever reaching our facilities. But we need to rely on others in manufacturing and usage chain to truly influence the whole cycle. Together with the county, we supported Center for Sustainable Infrastructure's latest roadmap report outlining cutting-edge strategies to move from traditional solid waste disposal model to a sustainable materials model. Perhaps our most valuable circular economy product is the energy generated and sold at the waste energy plant. This is the infographic reminder of all the elements within our One Energy strategic initiative, including the solar project Chris shared earlier. It also illustrates the work the team has been doing to evaluate a variety of methods to optimize triple bottom line value for our citizens from the energy we generate at both upriver dam and waste to energy. Using pricing numbers provided by our utility, my team developed a financial model to use in evaluating these scenarios. But unfortunately, rather than making additional revenue as we had hoped, we find ourselves in the position of mitigating financial loss. The model shows that retail costs will increase over the long haul, while our wholesale rates continue to decline. But through a series of thoughtful discussions over the past year with our electric utility, and with a few operational changes, and by extending the agreements to 15-year terms rather than 5-year terms, we believe we can stabilize financial recovery going forward. The strategic initiative team, which includes water, sustainability, and solid waste, will be exploring how to accomplish those agreements within the next 6 months. K&L Gates has been providing legal support to the Energy Strategic Initiative as we seek to understand our position as energy generators. And you'll be seeing a contract amendment for their work for 2021 for your approval shortly. These are the two unique assets situated west of the city in an area called the West Plains. The city's own waste to energy garbage disposal facility and the SMART Center, Waste Management Spokane Materials and Recycling Technology Center. These two facilities provide us with raw materials for new manufacturing options and are right in the middle of the West Plains PDA, enhancing the co-location for private business opportunities even more. As knowledge and technology advance, the waste-to-energy plant is also the perfect location for real-world piloting of carbon capture and storage methods. Currently, the ash we generate is shipped to the Roosevelt landfill in Klickitat County, where it's being remined for the metals that we fail to extract in our on-site process. No discussion of these facilities would be complete without pointing out that we've spent 5 years and untold staff hours fighting Monsanto over PCBs that we did not create. To date, the only reliable method of removing PCBs from the environment is through pyrolytic destruction at the extremely high temperatures reached within our plant. If PCB containing materials are landfilled, they remain available for re-release back into the environment. To wrap up today's presentation, I'd like to show you how the Energy Initiative segues into our new Recycling Partnership Strategic Initiative. We'll begin to shift our focus into economic development through a few low-hanging fruit projects. Presently, we're hoping to execute at least 3 projects during 2021, which may include textiles, glass, non-toxic, non-PCB generating pigments and dyes, along with a strong educational campaign. The result from the recent cart tagging program, along with the waste characterization study that's currently underway, will help to provide input for focused messaging that will be incorporated into the Recycle Right campaign in 21 and 22. Earlier, I mentioned Center for Sustainable Infrastructure's roadmap report guiding the development of a sustainable materials economy in the Northwest. They are a regional think-do tank, an NGO. They work with governmental partners like us to catalyze and execute new ideas in sustainable infrastructure. We'll be teaming with them to convene a value planning workshop this summer to gather local and regional experts for the purpose of identifying recycling opportunities unique to Spokane's business and solid waste environment. I expect that some policy recommendations will emerge, so I'd like to invite any of you or your staff to participate in the workshop as well. Thank you so much for your attention today. I will turn it back to you, Council President, for discussion and questions.
All right. Okay, I can see everyone again. If you have a comment or a question, I see Councilmember Cathcart.
Yeah, well, thank you guys for the presentation. I guess I thought part of it was going to cover how the legislation being proposed in Olympia would affect the waste energy plant. Is there more information on that?
So we're tracking that, Councilman. The one that seems to have gotten the farthest is what's called the Climate Commitment Act. That was in workshop on Friday, and they have an executive session on that on Thursday morning. That's a cap and trade program. So far, it looks like waste to energy and our landfill folks would be in the second compliance period, which appears to be in 2027. It would require the purchase of allowances or credits. We're not exactly sure how all that is going to work. They appear to be focused in on the non-biogenic portion of the emissions, which would mean that 99,000 or so metric tons. We've seen estimates in the neighborhood of $20 to $30 per metric ton for the cost of a credit. I'm not sure how offsets will work for solid waste industry. We've been trying to work with some of the other partners to at least explain that this is a required mandated service that local government must provide, which is to manage the solid waste stream. So there might be some opportunities there going forward in terms of identifying how we work in the system. It's different than simply an energy creation facility. So, potentially there's a significant financial impact over time for waste to energy. There's a couple of other competing bills that have similar costs in that range per ton of CO2e emitted.
So
Another thing to add to
assuming that bill.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to ask, so if the bill passes this year as proposed, and we have to make these changes by 2027, would we have to very quickly start charging our customers more to start making up that delta that we're missing?
So, I guess it would really depend on how it's developed, and the rulemaking would be pretty substantial around this, because the bill just outlines, the legislation just outlines the how it would work, sort of, but there would be significant rulemaking done by Ecology. So it's possible that, yes, we will need to figure out how to manage significant additional costs for our customers.
Scary.
Councilmember Mumm.
Hi. Before we get too scared here, I really want to invite anyone on your team to meet with your council legislative group and meet with our lobbyists on this, so they can tell you what's a real bill that's actually going to get passed and what's not. I don't know if you had an opportunity to do that.
We did request some of that information and Nick has provided us with some details. Nick Federici, is that right?
Yep.
And he's provided some level of understanding there. It's hard to know. Katie also has some work with the Clean Water Coalition, or Coalition for Clean Water, and they had indicated early on that it seemed to be probably more than a one-term bill, but the governor's very interested in this one. So we don't know yet where it could end up by the end of the session.
Sure. And so maybe, after this is done, or, it's close to cutoff, so we'll have an idea, but maybe that might be something we could work offline and discuss on the policy implications of it. The other thing too, I just want to mention a couple things. When we're looking at the waste to energy and comparing it to others, we want to also see it compared to the other types of systems that have diversion, and seeing their success and how do we stack up on diversion to diversion. That would be, I think, helpful. Also, what is it? Almost a third of what we have could be, we could do a better job, right? We're burning things we don't need to burn. And so what can we do to manage that waste better internally here? I think sometimes it sort of seems like the option is either waste to energy or the landfill. Well, there's a third option, and that is reducing waste. So, and returning it, or, using it in other ways. So I'd love to always have that be included. I think you have touched on that. But clearly we have to go somewhere else in the future. So I'd love to keep working on that. And I think you guys do too. So however we can help, but definitely on the policy side and tracking it, we've got a lot of folks that, Eric Polson and lots of people who work on this. We'd be happy to assist you. So you don't have to get all this anxiety maybe about things that may never happen to you. So thank you.
Other questions, comments? Yeah, I just had two comments. One, I think if I understand, our state regulatory environment doesn't necessarily distinguish that much between biogenic and non-biogenic. And so it looks like we're going to need to at least have a pretty good diversion alternative for the biogenic in order to escape some of the kind of penalties and regulatory. So I'm looking forward to that, especially around food. I think we could do a lot to figure out how to segregate that and collect that, especially from larger institutions and restaurants. And then the second thing, I was really happy to hear, Katie, about the workshops coming up this summer. So I'm super excited for that, and I'm sure that you'll have a good representation from council members and staff on that, because like Councilmember Mumm, I am looking for what's the next generation of how we're going to get there, and what can we start doing now to pilot things on a smaller level so that we can scale them up going forward, because waste to energy seems like a great improvement over landfill, but we need the next great improvement. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate your whole team presenting to this, because I requested that we get a fuller context of it as opposed to just the legal contract, which is coming up from K&L Gates. So thanks. And I don't know if there's any more on that topic, or if we covered it pretty much. We're good, I think. We're good. Okay, then let's move to an equally hot topic, Highway 195.
Council President, as Inga gets started with setting up the presentation, just wanted to cover that SRTC next month in March will get the full details that you're seeing today. We thought it was important that all council get a chance to take a look at the outcomes of this study. The next step after the March SRTC board meeting will go out to the public as SRTC leads the conclusion of this study. So this is why we wanted to get it in front of you now. So thank you for your time.
All right, good afternoon. So I'm going to go through the study. I'm going to go through the goals pretty quickly here. Just flash the screen up there. There were several goals that everybody agreed upon. This is for WashDOT, for the city, and SRTC, and all of the agencies involved. This is the study area boundary. It's generally the 195 area, but also extends west just a little way to encompass kind of the Grandview Thorpe area and parts of the lower South Hill. I just want to touch on the commute patterns just because it's kind of interesting. They did some analysis, I think probably using cell phone data to see where people were going to as they left the neighborhood, generally, the Eagle Ridge area, and found that a very large percentage of study area residents are commuting to downtown. This is just a snapshot of developments in the area. The kind of purpley blue color is final flats that have happened over the last few years. And then potential developments are shown in orange. They have not all been approved. These are just ones that have shown some interest. So we have a consulting firm who was hired by SRTC to do this work. And as part of the work, they need to forecast future traffic volumes. So they have a land use consultant who looked at all of this data and tried, using their best estimate as to how the properties are going to develop and what the demand's going to be like. They tried to estimate which ones would be built out within the next 20 years and then use that information going forward in the analysis. So now we are down to basically 2 packages that are under consideration by the study team. I'm not going to get into detail on these because it's a huge project list on both of them. Some of them are big projects, some are little ones that might just be, adding some signage or tweaking the ramp meter. Others are building brand new roads. I think that for those council members who are on the SRTC board, you'll hear about this at the next meeting. But I want to just touch on just the key projects that are common between both of the packages. So this is package 1, this is package 2. They don't look a lot different. The ones I'm going to focus on are the bright blue projects. So I've got a zoomed in view of them here. The first one, I'm going to go through these in order, is the Lindekey extension, which is a proposal to build a new road between 16th and Thorpe Road on the west side of 195. This is already in our impact fee program and on our arterial street map, so it's not brand new. What's a little bit different, though, is that prior versions of this, back, I guess, in the prior versions of the 195 study, the proposal was to put this road on top of the Fish Lake Trail right-of-way. And now that Fish Lake Trail has been in place and people really love it, this proposal keeps the roadway to the east of the trail between the trail and 195. So I'll show you a close-up view of that. The next major project that impacts the city streets is the proposal to reconnect Inland Empire Way. Now, when the Spokane-Cheney interchange was built a few years ago, at that time, Inland Empire Way was disconnected from 195 because that area was needed for the on-ramp coming off of the interchange. So this proposal would basically reconnect it in one form or another. We have two options, and make it so that traffic heading to downtown in the morning would be more likely to take Inland Empire Way rather than get on 195. And I'll show you the details of that in a moment. The next one, Project 33, is a proposal for a frontage road between Qualchin and Meadow Lane. This one I think is going to be a little farther down the list just because it doesn't accomplish as many of the goals as the other two do, but it's still one of the key projects on the list. The next one, number 25, is a J-turn at Meadow Lane, which you've all heard about quite a bit by now, I think, through development, and then we also have it on our impact fee list. And then down at the bottom, we have number 27, which is also adding a J-turn at Hatch Road. So I'll go through these and just show you the images of them. So this is the first one, the Linda Key extension. North is to your right in this case. And I've got the Fish Lake Trail kind of marked in a blue color there. But this project would tie into Thorpe, most likely using a roundabout just to the west of 195, maintaining a right-in, right-out access off of 195, and then just have a two-lane road that runs up here and ties into 16th Avenue. Prior versions of this also kept going on the Fish Lake Trail right of way, and so instead of turning onto 16th, they would have kind of headed straight and then come into Linda Key Street up there. So we're throwing this option out as an alternative just to keep the construction costs down, minimize the impact on the Fish Lake Trail, and try to make better use of our existing street infrastructure. This would include rebuilding that low railroad bridge over 16th and probably angling it a little bit and softening the curve here to get onto 16th. It's not a bad thing to rebuild that bridge because trucks run into it on a regular basis anyway. So this is probably what's going to be the most controversial project, I think, on the list, the reconnecting Inland Empire Way. So one version would be to connect it as a one-way northbound street. And the way that we do this is by basically turning the on-ramp, what is basically the northbound on-ramp, into a street and not connecting it to 195 until you get a little farther down the road. So right now, if you're getting on, I think you could start merging into traffic in this area. But in this version, it would be that ramp would maintain a barrier separation, and instead your merge option would be farther up here. So basically you default to being on Inland Empire Way, and then you have the option of getting on to 195 to go north. And most likely this would be controlled with a ramp meter as well, which would help to make it less attractive to drivers who are heading to downtown and push them towards using Inland Empire Way. This project also does shift our pathway around a little bit. We do have an existing pathway that runs between the cul-de-sac, which is hard to see, but there's a cul-de-sac right there where Inland Empire Way ends. And that pathway does run down here, down on the side of the ramp, and then provides bicycle access over Spokane Cheney. So we would have to shift that a little bit, but the pathway stays there. The next version of this creates a two-way street. And this one requires realigning the 195 main line a little bit. So it has to shift over to the west somewhat, probably just by, 5 or 6 feet, but, as best as we can underneath that railroad bridge, because that's where our constraint is, that and the creek off to the side. So this version creates a two-way street, possibly with a roundabout here at the end, and then can also have the option for the ramp with the meter. This version is preferred, I believe, by STA because it gives them an option to have a local route that would go all the way down Inland Empire Way, come across the overpass, and then serve that, that whole Yokes area, use that as a park and ride, and provide some transit service to Eagle Ridge. It's a lot better for them to be on a two-way street than a one-way. Go ahead, Catherine.
And just to be clear, all of the traffic is coming off of the ramp from Cheney Spokane. There is no 195 access to Inland Empire.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And well, okay, that's not entirely true because they could get off at the ramp and then keep going straight.
Other than doing that maneuver.
Yes. Okay. All right, the next project, the Qualchin to Meadow Lane, like I said, this one I think is going to be a lower priority than the Linda Key and the Inland Empire connection, but it is a key part of trying to create that local network to keep some of the development traffic off of 195. So it's just a two-way road that requires a pretty significant wall structure in this area. I also asked them to include a shared use path in the estimate because I think once you're down there, it's a pretty flat ride to get over to ride north to the commercial area. There's also some talk about what may happen with the Qualchin Park property, which is up here somewhere, and there's also some school district property up there that could possibly become an elementary school in the future. So we did ask them to include some multimodal options in that estimate. Next one, the Meadow Lane J-turns. I know you've seen this before, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. This is just one version. There's a couple different ways it could be designed. And then the last one is the Hatch Road J-turn. And this one, similar to Meadow Lane, it could be a half J-turn where we just do, the northbound and we still allow the southbound left to occur. Or it could have the J-turn on both sides of it and make it so that there's no crossing back and forth between the medians. So that's all I had to present today. Any questions on any of the concepts here?
Do we?
Yeah, I do.
Yep, go ahead.
So I've been told by WashDOT that the metered ramp will last probably 5 years before it won't really do what it's supposed to do. So is there an option for, instead of funneling people from Inland Empire Way on to I-90 again and dealing with a metered ramp, for them to go somehow through town or connect to downtown without getting on 195?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me go back to that one. So if you go with one of these options, we could not put the ramp on here. We could leave this off, and people who want to go to 195 could keep going up to the next major intersection, which would be 23rd Street, which keys into Thorpe. And then if they really want to go to 195, they would go that way. But that would be slower for the people whose ultimate destination is downtown. They would be more likely to stay on Inland Empire Way, which will dump them out onto Sunset.
Okay. And would we have to do any major work on Sunset to accommodate additional traffic?
I don't think so. We haven't looked in detail at the intersections there, but they'd mainly come into 2nd and 3rd. I drive that way fairly often. It's not too congested. It's like everything in the morning peak, it gets fairly busy, but I don't think improvements would be needed.
Okay. And then finally, are these suggestions to mitigate accidents or to mitigate congestion or both?
Both. So I'd say the J-turns at Meadow Lane and at Hatch are more collision-based mitigations. The streets on Linda Key, Inland Empire Way, and Meadow Lane are more to, I guess, keep local traffic off of 195. Basically take the people who are commuting from Eagle Ridge to downtown and put them on local streets instead of being on the state highway.
Inga, any early cost estimates of these yet, or is that still coming?
Catherine, did you want to add something? I see you popping up there.
Not at this point.
Okay. Cost estimates, we have some. They're rough. I don't know that I'm comfortable sharing them right now. I mean, I can tell you that the project we're looking at here has been estimated anywhere from 2 to 3 million. But there's a lot of details that still need to be figured out.
And kind of similar, I mean, you mentioned it, that putting people onto Inland Empire, which right now is a very sleepy road, is going to be controversial. So it seems like there'd have to be a lot of traffic calming improvements, maybe even roundabouts or protected bike lanes and things like that until you get out of the residential and you're going up that hill. And I'm wondering, do you think there's enough right-of-way in Inland Empire, and has anyone talked about what ideas might be to keep traffic calm even though the volume would increase?
I think that would be probably one of the next steps in the study. So we haven't taken this out to the public yet. We, wanted to give you a preview and then the SRTC board, and then we'll start the public outreach. And that's where I expect we'll get some feedback like that. So once we narrow it down to the final project package, then we can start to get a little bit more into the details of what else is needed on the implementation side.
Fair enough. And I really appreciate you bringing this to us, and especially you're always a very good explainer of these things. So thank you so much for that.
Council President.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi. Can I just ask a couple things?
Yeah, I couldn't see you, so go ahead. Yeah.
That's okay. Hey, great stuff. Any chance you could mail that to us?
Yeah.
Okay, that'd be great. Also, this is just so important, and you've done a lot of creative designing here. And as we designed this area, I just wanted to mention we had a docketing meeting last week. We haven't had a chance to report back to the rest of the council on it, but we're seeing more and more interest in this community. Obviously it's a very attractive and interesting neighborhood. But one of the things that came to us is that we don't have a center designation there. So we don't have a surety that we know where the services are going to be. And Councilmember Kinnear, you may want to weigh in. We had that discussion about the need for a center designation. And I wanted to tie that in with planning. We probably need that and some funding for a center plan because clearly it's just cut off. It's an island with no services. And on top of that, I'd really like us to have some assurance as to where the school might go. If they're going to put an elementary school out there, and they certainly need one, the busing situation is just not ideal. We really want to make sure that that land is preserved, and the transportation decisions that we are making will feed into that so we don't have to fix it later. And so those two things seem really important for us to get done sooner. And I think the council should maybe think about funding that center plan soon with our strategic plan, because obviously the pressure is there.
Councilmember Kinnear.
There's not much I can add to Councilmember Mumm, except that the planning department was in agreement that this area needs a sub-area plan before we can really go forward with identifying where a center should be, because we already have Yolks and some restaurants and businesses there. And so the question would be, do you create your center there and let it grow there, or do you locate it somewhere else? And I think it really is vital that transportation and land use go hand in hand when we're planning this area. And we have no bus service there right now. So STA has to be part of this as well.
All right. Any other questions? All right. I want to emphasize the STA thing. I appreciated that people studying it consulted with them, because I think getting that bus route through Inland Empire and to that shopping center would be real important. So that's great. All right. thanks. We'll wait to hear some more. And looks like next up I have Mike Piccolo on a master agreement with Avista on installing charging stations.
Good afternoon. Just checking to make sure everyone can hear me all right. Yep. Good. Well, I've been working on this master site agreement with Avista and the library for a couple months now. This is going to be a 4-party master agreement. We thought it would be best to bring all the parties in at the same time. So it'd be the city, the park department, the library, and Avista. We got those 4 because obviously Avista will be installing the electric charging stations. Right now the focus is on the library site. They'll control the facility on top of the land. 2 of the sites are park property, Shadle Park and Liberty Park. And then the Hive site, the city owns the land underneath right now. And then the downtown site, the city is also the landowner. So we thought it'd be best to bring all 4 parties in. We do have the opportunity to use the same agreement for other sites. For example, would be the community centers. If that would be the case, it would be Avista and the city as the 2 main parties. Right now, this is to bring the 4 parties together. Once the sites are selected and the number of stations are determined and the exact locations, then there'll be an easement assigned by the applicable parties. So right now we're looking at the Hive on Sprague as the first one to go forward. So the material you have is the master site agreement plus the easement for the Hive site. And this particular agreement is for the, as Avista calls it, the DC fast charging installation. So this would be the fast charging station, which do include some more sophisticated equipment. So in this case, Avista will always be putting in all the equipment, but on the fast charging stations, they will be paying for all the electrical expenses. So when the customers use to come in and charge the vehicles, they'll be paying the cost for the electrical usage. We'll be following this up with another master site agreement for, I guess you would call it the slow charging installation. I'm not sure that's a quite technical term, but the slower typical charging stations. And on those, the host site will be paying the electrical service charge. So in the case of the library, they would be paying the cost for the customers to come in and charge the vehicles. This agreement has already gone to the library board for approval. They've approved it. It'll be going to the park board first part of March. Same thing with the city council, first part of March. So we hope to have this all signed off again by the middle of March, and following that up with the easement for the Hive. And we're doing this in order to accommodate all the construction that's going on right now. So the Hive, Liberty Park, and Shittle Park will most likely be the first 3 to include these charging stations. Downtown will be part of the 4th site. You may be thinking about the Shaw Middle School site, because that is school property. Even though there'll be a library facility there incorporated with the school library, that agreement will be between Avista and the school district. So we don't need to worry about that one. This is a 10-year agreement, but again, it's the easement that really triggers everything. Once the parties have agreed on the exact site, the facility, the number of charging stations, that's when we sign the agreement and everybody comes to the table and says, we're going to go forward on this site and these facilities. I believe that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, so later this year, there's going to be a master planning process for a lot of our parks, and I imagine there could be some modifications to layouts and whatnot. So if this is all established now at some of these parks, can that be changed later with some ease if need be?
Yeah, so the master agreement is simply bringing the parties together to create the format for bringing these stations. It'll be the easement later on for all the specific sites that needs to be sorted out. So I think what you're describing there would be exactly the time in the future where the easements will be determined right down to the exact location, the equipment, the type of charging station, all those details will be put together. And of course, you need both parties to come to a meeting of the heads on that. So meeting of the parties.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Great. Well, there's physical infrastructure and there's legal infrastructure. So thank you, Mr. Piccolo, for the legal infrastructure for all these electric charging stations for vehicles that we've obtained through our grant through the Department of Commerce and Avista. That's exciting. All right, we have several short presentations. They're not really typical PIES topics, but it is cold and there are people who are unhoused, and I told CHHS that they should come and present to us as soon as possible because we're trying to get a vote so we can get funds out the door and provide services. So Tim Sigler's got 3 things.
Hey, thank you, Council President. Sorry, I hit the mute button. Yeah, I have 3 items to brief. A few weeks ago, our RFP review committee, which consists of the county, the valley, our purchasing department, and the health district, reviewed 3 different applications that came in. We have an open RFP process through COVID right now because we have so many funds coming from different streams that we want to allow partners to apply when they're ready and for specific programs that they can implement. So we had 3 applications come in recently. Those were reviewed 2 weeks ago by that committee. All 3 were recommended to move forward. We would be using our emergency services grant, so ESG, CV funds, to help support some of these. We're looking at them on a month-by-month basis because we don't know what other applications are going to come in, and we don't know how long these programs will last. But the 3 different programs and applications that came in are Volunteers of America. So they have a program for supporting young adults in the current shelter system. They plan on doing case management and outreach in the different shelters, provide the support they need to hopefully move them out of the shelters and into safer space. And then eventually when the young adult shelter is in place, then that would transition to that building, the case management and the support for the young adults in those programs. Would you want me to read through all 3 of these, or would you like me to stop at each one?
Oh, why don't we stop at each one? I had a quick question, and that funding for Volunteers of America, that will start in April, or is it already starting?
It'll start as soon as this application is approved.
Okay, great. And do you know where I know right now until they get an actual structure chosen and rehabilitated, they're using existing shelters and then providing the case management tailored to the young adults. But do you know where those extra shelter spaces are going to be?
So they're speaking to Catholic Charities. They're speaking to the warming centers as well to come up with a plan on how they're going to implement the case management side of it when they select the 18 to 24-year-olds. So once the contract gets selected, then they will identify the 18 to 24-year-olds that they're going to work with and manage. And it could be in any of the shelter warming centers, just depending on age and who's ready for that case management.
Okay. All right. Any other questions about the funds for Volunteers of America and young adults? All right, the next one.
Okay, the second application is with Transitions. So this is to create low barrier drop-in center during the day, which provides warming space, showers, hygiene products, internet, phone access, community referrals, and a few other case management opportunities. This is a program that we've had in the past, and the funding had run out, so they had to apply for these additional funds to move them forward. So as soon as this gets approved, they will just open up and continue working. Not open up, excuse me. They will continue working with the program that they already have implemented.
And this is the funding for the weekends, right? They usually have weekdays.
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Any questions on that? Not seeing any. Truth Ministries.
Okay. And the final one. Oh, I'm getting feedback. Can you guys hear me fine?
Yep, we can.
So this final one is working with Truth Ministries. We've had a partnership with them for a short period of time now where we've brought down the $2 per night barrier, and we will continue doing that, but this is creating the infrastructure for the 40 additional spaces. So they normally would have 35, and this would create operational funding for the 40 additional spaces that are there. It's a night-by-night shelter, but they will open during the day when there is a need. Weather requires that.
How, when I see your daily utilization reports, there's often identified open beds there, partly because it's not necessarily has been part of our network. Also, it's a little farther out. What are we doing, and what success have we had in getting transportation and other shelters to send people there when those shelters are full?
So our outreach providers do have it within their budget to provide bus passes or transportation if necessary. So some of that has happened. We also have been having conversations with our warming center partners. So the Way Out Shelter is one specifically, and then also with the Cannon, the space at the Cannon with the Guardians. And we're going to continue working with them if there's spaces that have been identified and transportation is available to allowing them to transport as necessary.
Okay. Great. Other questions? Oh, yeah. Councilmember Wilkerson.
Just a comment. Just thank you to the providers who have stepped up. I have been really impressed with their collaboration amongst themselves, how they kind of help the city figure out how we meet these challenging times. So I just want to recognize them. They don't often get the recognition and acknowledgement that they deserve for the work they do. So thank you.
Well said. I think that brings us to the end of our agenda, unless I'm missing something. So great. Well, we'll see everybody next month for pies, and we'll see people at probably an extra long briefing session at 3:30, since we have to brief tonight's meeting and next week's meeting. And we'll also be on at 6 p.m. tonight. So with that, we're adjourned. Have a good afternoon, everyone.